Hello, this short video will show you how to do a mutate data action. We will be recoding a variable in this example. We will be using a spreadsheet and formulas, and therefore this video is at an intermediate level. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. So the data that I'll be working with here is information about different immunization rates for different counties in Minnesota. I will be using two fields here that I will be doing a mutate action on. The first is the location field, and you can see that that has a named range here inside of my Google Sheets, and also the population field, which also has a named range. Okay, so let's show you an example. So my first example is that I want to recode the Minnesota location values to be a yes. So this just indicates that it is at a state level. And then any other rows I want to be identified as no, or I want to recode as no. So I have one of two values that I would like here. If I have one of two values, then an if statement will work. And the if statement has the following form. It has some sort of condition that I'm going to check. And if the condition is true, then I return whatever I put here. And if the condition is false, then it will return whatever I put after that second comma. So here I want to check to see if the location is equal to Minnesota. If it is, I want this new variable to be recoded as yes. That's what I have, yes, there. If it is not Minnesota, so if the location is not Minnesota, then I want it to be recoded as a no. So that'll be the false condition. So let's go over to our sheet then and insert a new column for this particular variable called state level here. So I'm going to insert a column here next to location, and the name of this variable is state level. Again, if it is Minnesota, I want this to be a yes, and any other row I want it to be a no. Now this is data for 2015. If we go down here, we will see data Minnesota appear again for 2016. We'll see it appear again for 2017. So I want my statement or my recoding to be done automatically. It needs to check this column all the way down. So again, we will say equal if the name of the field is equal to Minnesota. So if it is Minnesota, I want this to be labeled a yes. Whereas if it's not Minnesota, I want it to be labeled a no. And then I need to close that parentheses as well. When I type that formula in and I have a table like I do here, it says that you can just press Control Enter to fill the entire column. So let's go ahead and do that then. So Control Enter will fill that entire column with that formula. So down here you can see that that formula is being applied. Okay, real quickly, let's just look at that one more time. If the location here is Minnesota, I want to write yes. If it's something else, then I want to write no. So for this row here, it's Becker County, so obviously that's not at the state level. So we want that to be no. Okay, that's our first example. Let's go ahead and look at our second example now. So let me go ahead and turn this off. We don't have all of that. And then let me show you our second example. Okay, in our second example then, I want two counties, which are Minneapolis is in Hennepin County and St. Paul is in Ramsey County. So what I would like to do is just identify if it's either Hennepin County or Ramsey County. So those are going to be yes. All other rows are going to be no again. I also want Minnesota to be blank, because that's not actually even one of those counties, but I also don't want Minnesota to be identified at all here. Because I need to check more than 2 conditions, I'm going to need to use the ifs with an S at it. So the plural version here allows me to check multiple conditions. This is set up slightly differently than the if statement. I have a condition that I need to check. If that condition is true, then I'll return this value. Then it will proceed to check the second condition. If this condition is true, then it'll return this value. If the second condition is not true, then you will have a third condition to check. So you can just keep adding on these condition and value quantities in the ifs statement. And you can have as many as you want here. So what is this going to look like in our example? There's actually 3 options that I can use here. Let me go ahead and hide those for now and just consider the option 1. What I'm going to do here is check to see if the location is equal to Minnesota. That's the first thing. If it is equal to Minnesota, then I don't want to return anything. So I'm just going to return a blank string here. Just a double quotes with nothing between it. If the location is equal to Hennepin, then I want to return a yes. If the location is equal to Ramsey, I want to return a yes. So location Ramsey, yes. Excuse me. Now for all the other rows, I want it to be no. So what I'm going to do here is trick Google Sheets into returning a no for me for everything else. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to give a condition that is always true. It can be any kind of condition. Here I'm just saying, is 1 times 1 equal to 1? Well, of course it is. Yes, it is. So then it's going to return a no. So this last thing here is a way to define a default value for this if statement. So the way that the ifs statement works is it checks this condition first, will return that value, checks the next condition, returns its value, checks the next condition, returns its value, and at the end, what I can do here is just all the other rows are going to be set to a no, because this condition is always true. Okay? So let's go ahead and pick this up and bring this over into our new column or new field that I want to create. And I'm going to call this new field Hennepin Ramsey here. So let's go ahead and create another new column. And I'm going to call this new column Hennepin Ramsey. And let me go ahead and paste that statement in there, as long as I already have it. We can show you what that looks like here. Move all this stuff over. Okay, and that's what that function looks like there. Ifs, checking to see if that's Minnesota, I want to return blank. If it's Hennepin County, which will be down here, that should be a yes when we run this. And then also for Ramsey County should also be a yes when we run this. All right, so let's go ahead and see if this works. Let me take that little quote out. Okay. Again, if you want that to go all the way down, it was Control Enter. Okay, now that that window went away, that Control Enter didn't work for me, so let me show you another trick here. If you go in the corner of that cell, so let me go way over here in the corner of that cell, and I double click that box, it'll copy it down to all the rows in the table for me. Okay. So it looks like it's blank for this first row, but that's what I wanted. Recall that I wanted it to be blank for Minnesota. So that looks like it's working. For Atkin County, I want it to be a no. Down here for Ramsey County, excuse me, for Hennepin County, I want it to be a yes. So this is for Hennepin County. And then for Ramsey County was the other one that I would wanted it to be yes. And now that's going to do this all the way down for me. So here's another Minnesota that's blank. The next Hennepin here from 2016 should be Hennepin, yes. So that looks like it's working. Okay, so let's look at that one more time. Go ahead and look at our formula one more time here. Minnesota blank, Hennepin yes, Ramsey yes, and then this end condition here. And that's just going to make everything else a no, because this condition is always true. If I were to put this condition first, so let me do that just to show you what's going to happen. Take this off the back side here. If I were to put the true, always true condition first, the whole column is going to be no's. Okay, so if I were to do this here, copy this down for all my rows, they're all going to be no now, all the way down. Oops, let's see if that copied down. That did not copy down there. So let's do that. We can drag the formula down as well to all the rows if we want. So if those cells already have a value in them, you might have to actually drag it down to all the rows there, all the records. Now we can see that they're all no. And again, the reason they're all no is because the if statement works from the left side through the right side. So because this first statement is always true, it never gets to these other conditions. So our default value, if we're in a situation like this where we want all other rows to be a no, that has to be at the end of this list. Okay? Because we wanted to check for Minnesota, we want it to check for Hennepin, we want it to check for Ramsey, and then after you've checked those, I want it to be a no value. And I'll have to copy this down again quickly for all of my different rows. And of course, you went too far. Okay. That's how you can do example 2. There are other variations to example 2. Let's go ahead and look at this one a minute. Take this one away just so we can... Here what I'm doing is using an or, and then I use a parentheses and parentheses. So if it's Hennepin or if it's Ramsey, I want it to be a yes. So what we had before was checking these individually. Hennepin equal yes, or Hennepin, location equal Hennepin and gets a yes, location equal Ramsey gets a yes. Well, you can put that inside of an or statement if you would like. Or what's even easier is to list the counties that you would like to check inside of a curly bracket here. So here I'm checking location is Hennepin, or is the location Ramsey. If I had a third one, I would just do a comma and put in quotes a third one inside these curly brackets. So in a spreadsheet, this is just a little array, and what this is doing is checking to see if location is in the array at all. And if it is, it's going to get a quantity yes. So there's kind of 3 different ways of doing this. We can label or list these out individually like we did in option 1. We could put the conditions inside of an or statement like I did here in option 2. Or I can do a check of whether or not the location is within an array of values or a list of values. So that curly bracket, again, is an array inside of a spreadsheet. But you can just think of it as checking to see if the location is in this list somewhere. And if it is, I'm going to give it a value of yes. Okay, let's talk about third example then. So let's go ahead and do our third example. Reveal that. Hide this one just to keep it a little clearer on our screen. Okay, so now here I want to work with the population, and I want to check to see if the population is 150 and below. My staffing needs there are going to be at a low level, let's say. If I'm between 150 and 500, it's going to be at a medium level. And if it's 500 and above, I'm going to be at a high level. So let's look at our if statement again. We'll go ahead and look at the top one first. I want to check to see if the population is less than or equal to 150. If it is, I'm going to give it a low value. I need to check to see if the population is between greater than 150 people and less than 500 people. So here I'm checking two conditions. In order to be in the medium, I have to be bigger than 150 people, but less than 500. So I'm going to use an and statement instead of an or statement. Excuse me. The and statement says that both of these things need to be true. And if that's the case, then I will say that the staffing level is at medium. The last one then is if the population value is bigger than 500, then it's going to be at high. So let's go ahead and bring this one over. I'm going to name my new field staffing needs, and I'm going to be working with population. So let's come over here, insert one to the left, call this staffing needs. And then I will bring over the ifs statement here. Go ahead and slide over so we can see that better. Okay. So again, I'm checking to see if this quantity right here is less than 150. It's going to be at a low level. If it's between 150 and 500, it's going to be at a medium level. And if the population is bigger than 500, it's going to be at a high level. Here I'm actually going to get a quantity for the state of Minnesota, which is okay. We won't worry about that. And then I'm going to double click again. So just what I did is I double clicked there in the corner, and that did that formula all the way down. Again, we want to check some of these. So Anoka County, which is around the Twin Cities, has about 4,300 children in that age group. So that's a high staffing need. Here's 58, that's going to be low. Here's a 279, so that'll be medium. 279 certainly is between 150 and 500 here. The other thing I could have done is use that idea of everything else gets a true value here. So if the population is at 150 or below, or if it's between 150 and 500, then I got medium. Everything else is going to be at a high level. So again, I can trick the Google Sheets, my spreadsheet, into giving everything else a value of high here. So option 1 and option 2 are exactly the same thing. You're going to get the same result there when we use those two options. Go ahead and turn all this back on for you. Okay, there it is then. That's how you do recoding using formulas in Google Sheets. And it's going to be the same in Excel as well. So this works in Google Sheets and Excel in the same way. Thank you.